Welcome to Musicians versus the World, the podcast where we explore aspects of music and musician life that may not have been covered in music school. I am your host, Christine Smith, and today we are talking with Dr. Jeff Albert from the Georgia Institute of Technology. We'll be covering the amazing things happening at Georgia Tech and the Guthman Musical Instrument Competition, an event that invites musical inventors from around the world to share their creations and ideas about the future of music. We'll also cover improvisation and learning more about human connection through technology. Dr. Jeff Albert is Interim Chair and Associate Professor of the School of Music at the Georgia Institute of Technology. His areas of research and creative practice include improvisation and interaction, jazz performance, performance paradigms for live computer music, and audio production. And I'm so excited to talk with him. So Jeff, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to Musicians versus the World.
Thanks, Christine. It's a pleasure to be here.
I am so excited to talk with you. You have a lot of interesting and exciting things happening at Georgia Tech right now. And I know school is just kind of getting back into session. What is back to school like for you?
It's interesting. The back to school part gets more fun now. Like I'm in this interim administrative role. So the summertime means I'm doing lots of, businessy spreadsheet things. And when the students come back, it's like, oh, we get to talk about music and technology and art again. So that part's very exciting.
That's great that you get to do administrative, but you're not all administrative. You get to still teach.
No, yes. The interim part of that role is very important. We're having a search right now for our long-term chair. So I'm looking forward to getting back to teaching my classes and advising grad students and helping students make cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, your background is really, really interesting. Can you give us a little bit of your story? Have you always wanted to be a musician, or did it kind of come later in life for you?
That's funny. You hear people say, I've always wanted to be a musician. And I'm sure there was some point where I didn't think I wanted to be a musician. But there's a lot of musicians in my family. My father's side of the family, my father was not musical at all. But my grandfather, his father, was a band leader in the Army and did, military music, and then worked at Southern Music in San Antonio for years. And his brothers and sisters, a number of them were college music professors, and one of them was a high school choir director. And so there's lots of music on that side. And then my mom, sang in the church choir and played in the handbell choir at church and did all those things. So it seemed like making music was a natural thing that people did. So that seemed normal to me. And there was some point in my teens, I had started playing trombone already, where I realized oh, you can, people give you money for this. You can do this for a living. So it really started like that. The first time somebody paid me to play the trombone, I was like, oh, this is the thing. And then as life progressed, every time I finished a degree, I thought I was done with college and I was just going to go be a trombone player. And then it's like, oh, I want to get better. Oh, maybe I'll go get another degree, just as a way to study with people and get better. And then I finished that one, and they're like, well, now you have a master's degree. You can do this adjunct teaching stuff. So I was teaching and gigging and whatever. And then it was like, oh, this teaching thing's kind of fun. Maybe I'll go get another degree. And so next thing you know, it's 15 years later, and you have a PhD and a college job. It was so not the plan when it started.
Yeah.
I was just going to be J.J. Johnson. I'm going to be a trombone player. And that's it. And things change.
Yeah, well, I mean, your PhD program in itself was interesting because you were the first graduate of an experimental music and digital media at Louisiana.
Sure. So when I realized I wanted to get a college job, I was living in the New Orleans area, and LSU was the closest doctoral program in music. And it's commutable. It's a long commute, but it's not that far away. So I went and I started doing a DMA in trombone because the EMDM program hadn't really been announced. They had been working on it, but I didn't know it existed.
Gotcha.
And I got there and realized classical trombone degree was probably not what I should be doing, because I'd spent, all my other degrees were in jazz, and I was doing a lot of experimental music. So I was just spending all my time figuring out how to play it differently every time And then so going to the like classical thing of like, no, you need to be able to consistently play it the same way every time. It was both a mind shift and also just physically, that's not what I had spent the last 20 years trying to get my face to do. So when I got there, I realized they had this experimental music and digital media program. And as soon as I saw the curriculum listed in the guide, I thought, oh, well, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I went and talked to the professor, and he's like, yeah, they weren't supposed to put that in. The degree's not fully approved yet. So,
Well, you're like, well, I
and
saw
I'm like,
it.
well, sign me. When it gets approved, sign me up. So he let me in. And I wasn't really techie. I had done production stuff. Like I had mixed some records and done things like that.
Okay.
But I wasn't really a programmer. Like I could hand code a website, but so I learned all of the, sort of interactive programming stuff in grad school.
Really?
And I was 38 when I started that program. So I like had kids and a career and stuff already when I started doing that.
Yeah.
But it worked out great. It's totally set up a life that I love. That's lots of fun. And adding the tech stuff to the improviser practice gives me really interesting ways to explore sort of the interactions that we find compelling. Trying
Right.
to make a computer system that will play music that you want to play with makes you really think about how the music's put together and how the interactions work in ways that you don't do when you play with your friends, because it's just like, oh, well, Katie plays like that and Kebby plays like that, and that's what happens when we play. But when
Right.
I
Yeah.
have to build the system, it's like, well, what do I want it to do? What information does it need? What matters?
Yeah.
It gets to a lot of really interesting questions that are all about people and not about the computer. The computer is just sort of a tool to get to the people questions.
Oh, okay. Now, yeah. So what are the what are the people questions?
I'll call me in 20 years. I'll let you know
Okay.
when I have it figured out.
Okay, now I've seen a video, and there's a video of you playing along with a computer. So you built that computer program to play with you?
I'm not sure which video you're talking about, but
Oh my goodness,
probably.
yeah. So let's see, you were playing the trombone, and then the computer started playing back like variations of what you had played into it.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. That's a fairly recent piece
yeah, yeah.
called "Is That What I Said?" And
Yes.
it's an algorithmic system where it records at certain intervals and then plays
Mhm.
the things back, but manipulated in some way.
That's
Like
amazing.
faster, slower, sometimes backwards, and it's because I was, when you play solo improvised things, that's hard because you don't, all the ideas are what's coming from you. And so I was
Right.
thinking about, well, how do I make my ideas more interesting, or maybe in some way make my ideas unexpected? Because part of the thing
Okay.
of improvising with another human is they do something you didn't expect them to do, which then inspires you to do something different.
Gotcha.
So I
Right.
was like, how can I do that by myself with the computer? So that system essentially just takes the ideas I've put out and mixes them up and throws them back at me. And then I do find, like, once you get into the thing, that I start playing different things
Mm.
because I'm hearing what's coming back in
Mhm.
interesting ways. At
Okay,
least hopefully that's what happens.
so you don't know how it's going to be manipulated when it comes back out.
I mean, I
Yeah.
do, because it's a deterministic algorithm. Like it does the same thing every time, but I don't
Okay.
necessarily know what I'm going to be playing when it
Right.
records that clip, and then
Okay.
the order in which it plays them back and whatever is complex enough that you can't really keep track of it.
Right. That's what I was wondering. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's not like you're playing and you're like, okay, I know it's going to come back retrograde this time. Like,
Yeah. Like
uh,
right now it's going to play that thing I played 30 seconds ago backwards. You can't keep up with it in your brain like that.
gotcha. Oh, okay. So it very much is improvising on your part, very much like
Yes.
you would be with another musician.
Yeah, and then just reacting to what you get.
Wow. That's awesome. Like for you as a performer, do you get the same feel, like same kind of energy when you're playing with a program like that as you do with
When it works right.
That's amazing. Well, and what's really cool about that is that, and this kind of goes along with my next question, is that Georgia Tech is a very well-known, very respected engineering school. It's
Yep.
And so the
It
music
says so
program,
in the song. Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. And so what I love about the music program at Georgia Tech is it brings in that's like that engineering flavor into their music program.
Sure. And it's funny because since I've been interim chair, I'll occasionally get an email like, hey, I'm looking for an adjunct job. Do you need a cello professor? And I'm like, well, you didn't really look at our website because we don't do that. It was fascinating coming in to have, like, there's no performance majors. It's just music
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
Actually, let me caveat that. We have great ensembles,
Yes.
orchestras and choirs and jazz band and concert band and marching band that all of the majors across the institute are represented in. But the music majors, it's music technology. And some of them are performers, some of them are creators, some of them are, like, the easiest description is machine learning engineer. It's like a wide range of what they do. But it's a fascinating place to be because it lets us keep music in the forefront of the technology conversation instead of having, oh, I'm majoring in electrical engineering, but I'm interested in music. It's like, no, I'm exploring these electrical engineering concepts with music as the forefront, as the focus.
Yeah.
And the students are getting great jobs. You're probably listening to something in your car that was influenced by, some work done by one of our students. They go work for Shure and Bose and Dolby and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's fun. And it's fun for me, sort of my role in the faculty is as a still active musician is to, like, push that music part.
Right.
And I do enough of the tech stuff to keep up, but some of my colleagues are much more technically adept. So we sort of have a nice balance of those of us who are really skilled programmers and engineers, and getting that to interface with the sort of humanistic artistic expression is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then having both specialties really benefits those students that
Sure,
come. Yeah.
because if you have a student who's working on, say, a machine learning project, but they have a musical question, there's a faculty member they can ask.
Right.
And if I'm working on a musical project that has a machine learning aspect, I can go to Dr. Lurch to ask him about that, or even to some of his grad students. It's like just being around that many smart people is really fun.
It would be intimidating for me, but maybe
Well,
not.
it's kind of, we joke it's weird teaching at a school that you might not have gotten into as an undergrad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that because there are so many, you go on to, and I say this because my daughter is looking into colleges now, and you always have to say, oh, this is the major I want to go into. And you go online and they always say like the top 10 worthless majors. And right up there, like number 5, number 6 is always like music, which is,
So
I don't agree with, but I wonder what your thought is on that.
The argument I make about Georgia Tech is it's not a traditional music degree; it's a music tech degree.
Yeah.
But even so, it's funny. My daughter might not appreciate me telling the story on the podcast, but I will anyway. She's a creative writing major, but that wasn't her first major. And when she was talking about changing to creative writing, because that's really what she wants to do, she was kind of hemming and hawing, and I could tell she wouldn't get to it. And I was like, sweetheart, you realize you're talking to your parent who has not 1 but 2 degrees in jazz trombone. Right. So I'm not going to tell you, go get the super useful, I know I'm going to get a job degree. Life will work out.
Right.
And to be honest, if you can be good at playing an instrument, there aren't many problems you can't solve.
That's true.
And so, we don't have to quote all the statistics, but, law schools love music majors.
Right.
Medical schools love music majors. There's so many things you learn from learning music that if you're really worried about, getting a job or whatever that thing is, those skills are applicable. And it's the same thing I tell my daughter who's studying creative writing. Like, everything you read was written by somebody. Well, that was true at least until a couple of years ago. Now all the good stuff you read was written by a person.
There you go. Yeah.
So maybe what you want to do is write novels, but maybe what you do to make a living is, write instructional manuals. There's skills
Yeah.
in there that you can get paid for. I've
Yeah.
spent a lot of time wearing a tuxedo playing Brick House at somebody's wedding. And interestingly, I think that informs my more creative work. Like the commercial stuff
Really?
informs the artistic stuff in ways. I mean,
Hmm.
I hate to even refer to it like that, because it's not like there's not art in the commercial stuff.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
overlap. It's a
Yeah.
continuum. Um,
Yeah.
and coming up in New Orleans, so much of that music is about, as a friend of mine used to say, bringing the party. You know, that when you do more abstract improvisational stuff, you still have this feeling that you want to engage with the audience in a way and
Mhm.
bring them in. So yeah, it all sort of feeds itself. That was a long
Mhm.
ramble about why music school matters.
Well, hey, I'm an advocate for music school, so I love I think it's so important. And I am a real fan of the music technology thing though, because I think that's really it covers both. You can, especially at Georgia Tech, where you still are performing and you're still being a skilled musician, but then you're also adding the technology and looking forward to what might be happening in the future with music.
Sure, and the tech's liberating in a way.
Yeah.
In the old days, if you didn't have the privilege of coming up in a school that had a good music program,
Hmm.
or parents who could pay for you to have lessons or whatever, the ability to make music was kind of limited. And
Right.
now you can make pretty good music on a Chromebook,
That's true. Yeah.
and it's interesting, we get a lot of students who, what they know coming in, they learned on YouTube.
Hmm.
And so as an educator, it's been interesting to try to figure out ways to hold space for both of those types of learning,
Yes, that
to
would be
to
very
present,
interesting.
especially the beginning undergrad curriculum, in ways that the people who come from a traditional music training background are engaged, but also the people who come from these non-traditional backgrounds. So what we've been
Right.
trying to do, we have a 4-semester sequence for our undergrads called Fundamentals of Musicianship. I teach
Hmm.
the 3rd semester. There's one person who teaches both 1 and 2. And we try to tie the sort of traditional music and tech stuff together, so that when
Okay.
you're learning a major scale, it's like, okay, here's what it looks like in notation. And here's what it looks like in the piano roll on Ableton Live. And here's how you
Oh,
would write it as an array in MIDI numbers in, Java or Chuck or whatever, text-based language
yeah.
you're using. And here's how you would make it in Max or PD. So, and
That's
that way the kids who come in understanding some programming and understanding less music have a thing they can hold on to.
right.
Oh, the idea of an array makes sense to me, and I can
Yeah.
figure out how to make a scale out of that. And the kids who come in understanding what a major scale is already, they're like, okay, I know what this is, which helps me understand this array. So we can sort of teach those things in ways where the strengths that already exist help them learn the parts that they don't already know.
Yeah. That's so smart. I love the way that you're able to adapt that so everyone is learning something
Yeah.
regardless of what their background is.
Yeah, because they come in with very different things. When I was in New Orleans, I
Yeah.
did a session with an electronic artist who his artist name is Pretty Lights. And I had never heard of him when we did these sessions. My nephew was very excited when he found out that I got to play with this guy, because apparently he was famous, but I did not know this.
Okay.
Um, and I showed up to the session, and the way the guy was talking was not, sort of like the terminology trained musicians are used to using. But pretty
Hmm.
soon in, I realized he's very musical. This music
Right.
is good. He
Hmm.
just talks about it in different ways. And it was a real realization as an educator that we need to hold space for people who have gotten here through different paths.
Right. Right.
Or we're going to miss out on some really good stuff,
Oh yeah.
because
Oh yeah.
there are students bringing musical value in ways that we're not used to seeing it.
Yeah. They're just communicating it differently.
Yeah, totally.
They may not read sheet music, but they can read a piano roll. So yeah, for sure.
Or may not even know to call it a G minor 7, but no, they want this sound to go to that sound. Like, play this thing. And, he had his bass out and was playing the thing, and we're like, oh, okay, that's what that is.
Yeah. So then you just name it. So now it has a name,
right.
but he's been doing it.
Yeah, so the session musicians who had been called so we could talk about it, we had to translate into jazz school talk.
Yeah. That's great. So the talking, that's kind of a good segue to what I wanted to ask you next. You gave a presentation, I believe it was in Korea. Was it in South Korea?
Oh, yeah.
And the question you asked was, does it still sound good if I don't know how it works?
That's funny. I saw that on the notes that you sent ahead of this, and I'm like, that sounds familiar. And I didn't remember that I had said
your
that.
Own question.
Yeah. That's a thing that we get in computer music a lot, is we get so tied up in the technology that instead of listening to the music, we're sitting there thinking, well, how'd she do that? What makes it work like that? How does it, right? So I also found in the interactive improvised music stuff, I when I hear things, I spend a lot of time thinking, well, what's the relationship? How did this, Yeah, so part of that was to inspire me to like just shut up and listen sometimes, like to stop thinking about it. But it's also to ask the question of, does how it works matter? If it's really simple, but it makes good music, is that okay? We get so tied up, especially in academia, in like, oh, is this a novel concept, or how complicated is this?
Right.
It's like, well, but if I can do this very simple thing and it sounds good, like, isn't that good music?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
Right. Yeah.
So that's part of it. And then also, like, sometimes the super complicated stuff also sounds really cool.
So it makes you just like take a step back and like listen and enjoy, so we don't get all up in our own heads too much.
Sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Because that really intrigued me. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds really good. And that kind of goes forward with what's happening, the Guthman Musical Instrument Competition.
Yes. We're
tell
actually,
me about
so we're, I don't know how long it takes you to produce these things. We're recording this on the day that the call is going to open. So people
so that's August 29th.
Yeah, so people who are on the mailing list will get those emails later today, probably. The Guthman Musical Instrument Competition started as a piano competition years ago. Mr. Guthman was a Georgia Tech alum, and his wife, Margaret, was a pianist. And he wanted to do something to, give back to Georgia Tech and to honor her, and they were both really into music. So they started a piano competition here at Georgia Tech that was run, and it was jazz piano and classical piano. And but he really wanted to do something that would be significant. And to be honest, there are a lot of piano competitions in the world,
especially in Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. And so around the same time, the master's degree in music technology program was starting. So amongst the faculty and the chair at the time and the Guthmans, they had the idea, well, what if we pivot and make it a musical instrument competition? It'll sort of tie into what's happening curricularly in the School of Music. So they did, and it's now, I think the Guardian called it the Pulitzer Prize of New Musical Instruments or something. I have all those pull quotes written down somewhere. But so it's an annual competition looking for interesting new musical instruments. And we have submissions open usually in late August, and they'll be open through about the middle of October. People submit videos and photos and, write-ups of the things. And we have a group of Atlanta folks, mostly Georgia Tech faculty, but also some area musicians and other people involved in the creative music community in Atlanta. We look at the preliminary submissions and select usually around 10 finalists who come to campus in March. In 2026, it'll be March 13th and 14th. And then we have 3 judges come in to judge the finals.
Okay.
And we don't have our judges quite confirmed for this year. But it's usually a performer and an industry person or an academic. Last year we had Paul McCabe, who runs the Roland New Futures Lab, like the cutting edge design lab at Roland. He was one of the judges. And King Britt, the influential DJ and producer, was a judge. And Letitia Sonami, who does all sorts of fascinating. She made like the lady's glove was an instrument that she made. She's a really fascinating electronic music artist. So they were the judges. So it's a range of approaches from them. And then we hang out for a couple of days, and the inventors show us their instruments, and it culminates in a concert on Saturday night, where we usually pair an Atlanta musician with the inventor and their instrument. Sometimes we'll get someone else to play the instrument. Often the inventor plays the instrument.
Right.
And they play, we do a concert where they play duos with local folks.
That's amazing. And then these are coming from all over the world, right?
Last year we had a number from the U.S. We had a Swedish one, a team from Germany, although one of the guys on the German team was Italian. Another team with an American and an Italian woman. We had at least one guy from France. Yeah, there were 6 or 7 international ones last year.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what kind of instruments do you see? Like, are they all electronic, or are they
No, they're all over the place.
Really?
There are some paradigms that show up, like certain types of things, like, oh, it's a new string instrument. But like, for instance, last year we had one that's a wood with strings. Like it was a new form factor for a string, but it was essentially the same principle that guitars and violins have been made on forever. They made it in a new shape, and but it had sound holes and strings, and this one also had pickups. You could run it through effects and things, but it was at its essence an acoustic string instrument.
Gotcha.
There's usually some sort of instrument that plays on magnetic fields, like guitar pickup, sort of like those concepts. Last year we had one, the Utterbot, which was amazing to me. It was really just a wine bottle and a rubber glove.
Oh my goodness.
He cut the bottom of the wine bottle off, put a rubber glove on it, and he could, like just blow in the bottle like a flute and tune it. But the thing was, the guy was amazing. He could play Bach on the thing and stuff. It was like his pitch control on this thing was, he had really spent the time like dialing in how to play this instrument, which took it from a sort of gimmicky thing of like, oh, here's this thing you made out of a wine bottle, into like, no, that's a real instrument. Like, you've spent time becoming virtuosic on this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Well, so that's kind of an interesting concept. So then, as a judge, as you're judging this, what are you looking for? Are you looking for the virtuosity or the originality?
We have some guidance that we give to judges, but we leave it very open to them.
Really? Okay.
But things people tend to look for is there a learning curve? Some of these instruments, like the first time you play it, you're going to do everything you can do on the thing. Like, does it reward time?
Gotcha.
As you practice it and play it more, do you get better? Is it expressive in some way? Could you, like, do you want to listen to it for more than 5 minutes? Like, could you play a whole recital on it? Or a concert, a gig. I don't mean to use overly classical terminology.
The jargon again.
Like, can you play it with someone else? Or only by yourself? It doesn't go so far as to, like, we pass out sheet music. Here, play this. Because to be honest, I've invented instruments that if you handed me some etude, I'm like, I can't do that on it. That's not what this instrument does.
Right.
But that's also part of the thing is we're getting to instruments that are exploring other things, that play with timbre instead of pitch or density instead of rhythm. So as our ideas of what's musical expand, we also get instruments that expand to engage with those ideas.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Do you have a favorite that you've seen over the years?
Ooh. Well, you know, I haven't been at Georgia Tech that long, so I don't have so many
Okay.
Guthmans under my belt. Although that was the thing that I knew about Georgia Tech before I came here. It was
Was the
like
Guthman?
I knew it through the Guthman competition. Because I had some
Hmm.
friends from grad school who had been semifinalists years ago, and so it was always sort of a thing I kind of paid attention to.
Yeah.
I like the ones that like. It's funny. I hate to say this because in my own music, I try to like shun virtuosity. Like I do it, but I'm like it doesn't just have to be a lot of notes. But I really like the ones that people can shred on. Like
Yeah.
the part of me like just can't get away from that. Of like, wow, man, did you hear what they played on that? That was amazing.
Look what they did with the bottle and the glove. That's
Well, sure, that was one of them.
right.
The
Yeah.
one that won last year was an instrument called chromoplane, and it was it just looked like a metal sheet, but there were these things under it, and they played it with these little microphones.
Yes. I saw the video of that one.
But
Amazing.
the two of them played the thing
Yeah.
so well. It was so expressive. And so I
Yes.
feel like, interestingly, a lot of the how things get judged does come down to how the people play them. I feel like we've
Mm-hmm.
had some submissions in the past that are really interesting instruments, but they don't get out of the open submission round because the video just doesn't really show what it can do. It doesn't
Gotcha.
get played to its potential.
Right. So if someone were wanting to submit something, make sure you can play your instrument really well.
Sure, yeah, that it does something interesting. And part of the submission is a video that they have to put on YouTube, although it can be unlisted. You know, we just use it for judging. And that's part of the thing is if you play some music in the video, like it's great to know how it works. The very successful videos start with them playing the thing, and then they talk about it and how it works and explain what it does, and then they play it some more.
There you go. Yeah.
For those of you out there who are applying, that's a good model for the sequencing of your video.
That's great. What so if someone were wanting to enter, is there a place that they go to look up and find instructions?
The information is at guthman.gatech.edu. That's how we say it. So Guthman, Guthman .gatech.edu. And that's the website. And it has the history of past winners and judges and things, but also, like, I think today the link to apply is up.
Okay.
And the submission's pretty easy. It's just a form, name, email. If you have a website, we ask for a photo, a video, brief descriptions of the things, but it's not a very onerous process at the beginning.
Yeah. I think the difficult part is like creating and
making the thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like
that's what you should be spending your time on.
Submissions close on October 10th. If you haven't started your instrument yet, maybe aim for next year.
Right. And then can anyone come to the concert in March?
The concert is open to the public.
Okay.
There are tickets. They're not expensive tickets, but it is ticketed just because there's a limited amount of space in the first center. And we're getting to the point where like we're having overflow because so many people want to come see it. The concert's a lot of fun. These instruments are fascinating. And actually, one of my colleagues who's the chair of the School of Public Policy, she was a pianist, in undergrad. And she brought her teenage daughter and her friends, and was telling me about how they were all making odds on who was going to win, and they all had their own list. They had picked their favorites, and
well, it's fun.
Yeah. The concert's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna make an effort to make it to it this next year because that sounds really fun. I'm gonna bring my kids.
I will be sure to remind you. Yeah.
Yes, please. I think my kids will I know my kids will get a kick out of it for sure, and we're not too far from you. So that's so exciting. That's really great. I didn't realize that was here, which is my own problem. That was my own problem for being
Well, maybe it's
misinformed.
our problem for not letting you know.
But now that I know, I'm going to be following it, because this, like the instruments, if you go on that website and you see the videos of the instruments, even from last year, they are just mind blowing.
And also the judging, which is all day on Friday, that's also open to the public. You can come.
Oh, really?
Come see that. So it sort of breaks down into 2 chunks. So there'll be a session where there'll be 5 presentations, and then there'll be time where you can go up and talk to the people and sometimes even play the instruments and whatever.
Wow.
And then we'll take lunch, and then the other 5 will present. So all day on Friday is the inventors talking about their instruments, and then the judges conversing with them.
Oh, that sounds.
And then
so
on
amazing.
Saturday we have a fair that features Georgia Tech music technology students and other people from around campus. We get people from industrial design and whatever that have projects in the Guthman Fair, which is open to the public. And while on Saturday, usually have a panel with the judges where they'll talk about both their experience as musicians and whatever, and also the process of the judging. And
oh, wow. So it's like a whole festival, whole event.
It's a fun couple of days. And it's part of, it usually lines up with the Atlanta Science Festival, which is a 2-week thing. So we're one of the events in that big thing, which is great. There's fabulous stuff going on all over town through the Atlanta Science Festival.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, this has been amazing to talk with you, and it makes me just excited about the future of music and the future of musicians. As we wrap up, knowing what you know about the innovations that are coming up, and the traditional side as well as the innovative side, what advice do you have for young musicians or aspiring musicians?
Ooh, that's a good one. My biggest advice is don't worry about the rules. We have lots of rules.
We do.
And they all go away eventually. Do the interesting, creative thing. Right? It's like in theory class. We tell the kids, you can't write parallel fifths, because when you're writing Bach-style chorales, you can't write parallel fifths. But then when you join a heavy metal band, it is just all parallel fifths.
It's all those power chords are.
Right. That's all it is. So it's a rule there. It's not a rule here. So if you're being creative, be creative. Don't worry about those rules.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Jeff Albert, you are amazing. Thank you so much. All the best of luck with this year's competition and this school year for you.
Great. Thank you, Christine. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.